Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Cornelius. So in today's video we're going to be talking about functions in Python. Now every time you write a program that you know you want to use somewhere else, what we've been doing since the beginning of this series is that we have to rewrite the program. Alright, so say you have something like this. You want to add two numbers together, right? So you can do print 2 plus 2 or 2 plus 4. Then somewhere else you can still do print 5 plus 6. Alright, now this works, but every single time we want to do this, we have to always perform the addition operation by ourselves repeatedly. Alright, so this is the problem that functions solve in programming. Functions allow us to write a program that is reusable. In fact, a very good example is this print function we've been using all this while. Alright, so the print function is a function that allows us to display something to the console. As you can see, if I go inside there and I say print hello, right, when you save it, you get hello. So instead of us having to write the functionality to display something in the terminal, the people who designed the language created a function that allows us to print items out to the terminal. So a function is simply a block of code that is reusable and organized. So let's see some examples, right? So imagine you want to, let's create a function that tells people hello. So the syntax of a function is simple. Let's check out the syntax first. So we use the def keyword, all right, function declaration keyword, which is def, then the name of the function name, then you put parentheses in front of it, and then you come to the body, right? So the body of the function, so we can say, let me do this, I'll say the body of the function or body of code that the function contains. All right, so that's the syntax of a function. Now let's see one in examples. I'll say greet. So what we want to do is simply print hello. All right, so def is the function creation keyword and greet is the name of my function, and the body of code inside it is simple. I'll simply say print hello. All right, or it should be string. And when I run the program, we see nothing. All right, now why is this? Every time you create a function, you need to call it to be able to use it. All right, so there are different languages you can use. You can say to call a function or to invoke a function. So now let's go ahead and invoke our function. So to invoke a function, you write the name of the function and then you put parentheses in front of it. So now when we save and you run it, you get the output we are looking for. We can also do it one more time, right? And then you can use this now anywhere in your program. If you want to print hello world, you simply write greet. You don't need to be repeating print hello every single time. All right, now the next thing we are going to look at is parameters. So we can make our functions more powerful and flexible when they take parameters. All right, so let's see a parameter. Now we are going to extend the functionality of our function. So we say the function should take a username, all right, and then we want to say hello to this username. So let me use an f string. I'll say hello username. So what does this mean? It means this function will say hello to any name that we pass to it. So here to invoke the function, I'll pass a name to it. Let me pass my name to it, Cornelius and John. All right, and please, before we go ahead, please make sure to like the video if you learn from it, and also subscribe to the channel. This is a new channel and it helps me a lot. So now let's run the program and see what we get. Now you get hello Cornelius and you get hello John. All right, so now by passing a parameter to it, and also there's another two things I want to explain to you. When you begin to work with functions, there are these two terminologies that are used interchangeably, but there is actually a difference. All right, we have parameter and arguments. So when you are creating the function, the variable you use as a placeholder, in our case username, is called a parameter. All right, Now, when we are using the function, when we are invoking it, what we give it is called an argument. All right. So when creating the function, you pass a parameter. When using or calling or invoking the function, you pass arguments. Excuse me. So we can also give our function multiple multiple parameters. All right. So let's say we have a function that adds two numbers. So I'll call the name of the function add, and then it takes two parameters. I'll say num1 and num2. Right, then we go inside the body and we say print num1 plus num2. All right. So now we invoke the function. I'll say add, and we pass any two numbers we want to it. Add 2 and 3. Now when you run the program, you get 5. All right. So by declaring the function, anywhere we need to add two numbers, we simply use the add function. Now I can say add 10 and 90, and of course we get 100. All right, so we add those two things together. The next thing we're going to look at is the return statement. All right, so sometimes you don't want a function to just print out something. Okay, technically these two functions we've created, they did not return anything. In some programming languages like Go or let's say C++, all right, you have this, you must say the type of keyword you want to return from a function, the type of the data type you want to return from a function. But in Python, we don't necessarily define the types we use. So the only thing we do is we return something. Now, these two functions we've created, we did not return anything technically. We only print out values. All right. So, but with the return keyword, we are telling the function that when you are done performing the computation, return the result to us. So let us rewrite this function. Let's make another function and call it multiply. All right. So I'll say mul. So we can say a comma b. All right, and then I'll return a multiplied by b. Okay. So now to use it, when we use the return keyword, I can, if I do this mul, all right, and I pass any two numbers to it, let's say 4 multiplied by 6. When you run it, we see nothing. Right. So even though the function returns something to us because of this return keyword, we still need the print function to print it out. So what do? We wrap the function inside a print method. So I do print multiplication. So now when we print it, you get 24. All right. When we print it now, we get 24. Print mul, we get 24. All right, we get 24. Now to make your code easy to read, you can also do this by assigning a variable to it. So I'll say results should be equal to mul, and then we now print out results. All right, so when you run it, you get 24, and we can change this to 4 multiplied by 8, or let's say 10. So that's 40. All right, so the difference between return and print is clear. With print, we just display output to the terminal or to the screen. But with return keyword, the function actually returns the result of the computation that it carries out. All right, so it returns. For instance, add simply prints out a value, but mul returns the result of the multiplication. All right, so with return, we can store the results in a variable like we did here and use it later or pass it to another function. So we can also create what we call default parameters, right? So with default parameters, we are saying in case the user did not provide any argument when using the function, use this one that I have provided. All right. So say, let's say we have a function, and I'll say preference. All right, and I'll say favorite fruit. All right, favorite fruit. So to make it a default parameter, I'll say it should be equal to it should be watermelon, right? I like watermelon. So now we go ahead and we say print I like favorite fruits. All right. So now when we go ahead and we invoke it, so I'll say preferences. All right. Now, if I do not provide any arguments, it simply prints I like watermelon. But when I go to the next line and I run the function again, I call the function again, but this time I provide a value to it. Let me pass another fruit that I like. I'll say apple. All right. So now you get I like apple. So if we did not provide an argument when calling the function, it prints out this default parameter that we pass to it, or default argument. Its default parameter is called sha. But in the second function, when we provide arguments, then the arguments you provide when calling the function will override the default parameter provided. All right, and this is good for cases where you want to fall back to something. When you are writing production level code, there are certain situations where you are not sure if the user will provide a value, so you need something that the program can fall back to, and this is one of the very good features in Python that we can use to do that. So we can also use what we call keyword arguments. Excuse me. So when calling a function, you can specify which argument goes into which parameter using keywords, right? So I'll say introduce, right? I want to introduce someone. I'll just say intro. All right, and I'll do name, comma, age. So I'll go ahead and do print using an f string. My name is user name is name, user is age, years old. All right, user is age, years old. Now we can now introduce the user. So I'll say introduce user. We'll say age should be equal to 80, and name should be equal to John. All right, the order doesn't matter when we use keyword arguments. It does not matter. All right, so you see username is John, and age is user is 80 years old. Then we can use arbitrary arguments. So arbitrary arguments is used when you are not sure how many arguments the user will pass to the function, or how many arguments you will pass to the function when using it later in the future. All right, so let's see some basic examples. Imagine we want to create a function that adds multiple numbers. All right, so in our case, we don't know yet how many numbers we are going to pass to this function. So what do? We simply use an arbitrary argument. So let's say def add many. All right, add many numbers. So to specify an arbitrary argument, we use asterisk. All right, so we simply say numbers, multiple numbers. Now what we want to do is return, or no, let's create a variable. So I'll say the sum should be equal to, let's make it total. Total should be equal to, I'll use the sum function in Python. All right, so I'll say the sum I'll pass numbers to the sum function, and then we return total. All right, I'll say results. Let's just print it out. All right, so print out the sum is total. So now with that out of the way, let's invoke the function add many. So we can do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so we can specify as many arguments as we want, and the sum is 20. All right, so we can also have multiple named values, all right, with another type of arbitrary arguments. So in this case, we can give the values, we can give multiple values that have names instead of just giving it these literal values. All right, so I'll say display info, or let's just use this info method. I'll cut it and bring it down here. All right, so using another type of arbitrary arguments for named values, so we'll simply do info. All right, so I'll say info. Then for the info, I want to print out key and value. All right, so we'll say printf. Okay, I need a loop, so I'll say for key value, in info dot items. All right, then what do we want to do? We want to print out the key and value. All right, so I want to print out key and the value. So now I'll simply go ahead and pass anything I want to pass to it. So when we run the program now, you see age is 80 and name is John. All right, we can also do address is Lagos. Let's say address is equal to Lagos. All right, so you see age is 80, name is John, address is Lagos. So we can also define functions inside another function. All right, so we can define functions inside functions. So how do we do that? We create an outer function, so I'll simply call it outer. All right, so I'll say outer function, then we define another function inside it. Okay, I'll say def inner, which means the inner function. Now print this is the inner function. All right, so for us to use this inner function, we need to invoke it. Okay, so I will invoke it here inside the outer function. If you come outside the outer function, you don't have access to that inner function. All right, we can only use inner function as long as we are inside the body of outer. So when we come outside here, we can now invoke outer itself. Outer is what we can invoke down here. Then when you run it, you see this is the inner function. So for us to get the inner function, we need to run the outer function. When we run the outer function, it goes inside and invoke the inner. All right, then last but not the least, we are going to talk about lambda expressions. All right, so lambda expressions are what allow us to create functions without names. So imagine you want to create a function on the go and you don't want to stress yourself going around. So we can simply say I'll say sum should be equal to lambda. All right, so say x in x plus 2. All right, so say x in x plus x lambda. That's what I keep getting, x in x plus 2. All right, so when you run the program now, I'll now print sum. All right, I don't think sum is the correct name. Let me call it add2. I'll call it add2. Right now, I'll call it add2. So whatever we pass to it, it will increment it by 2. So if I give it 8, we expect to see 10, right? Because it increments it by 2. I can also pass, let me print add 2, and I'll pass 98 to it. and of course it will add 2 to it, so we get 100. All right, so that's all for this video, and I hope you know what, there's one more thing we can do. We can create a function that returns multiple values, right? I just think we should add that to it because it's a feature of Python that I always like to do. So let's say you want to return the statistics for an event, so I'll just call it stats. So in the stats, I'll say numbers, right? Or let me say event stats. All right, so in the event stats, I'll return the minimum, right, of the statistics. So I'll return the minimum in event stats. Then I think you separate it by a comma. We can also return the maximum of the event stats. So I'll say, yeah, event stats. Then let's add one more. So I want to sum everything. So let's use the sum function to say event stats also. All right, then I think that's it for this. So when we now go ahead and we create the variable, I'll say minimum. I'll say low should be equal to let's do a multiple variable creation, right? So I'll say the maximum, or high. I don't want to use the function name. High, then I'll call this one, x. All right, so I'll say it should be equal to stats, and I'll pass a list to it. All right, a list of the event stats. So I'll say 81, 97, 88, let's put one more, 92. And now when we go ahead and print them out, so I'll print low, I'll print high, then we'll print x. And now when you run the program, you get 81, you get 81, you get 97 and 358. So low is the smallest number we pass to it, then 97 is the largest number, then x is the sum of all the numbers we pass to it. So that's all for this video. I hope you've learned something from this. Please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.